Hello, everybody. Welcome to House and Home Chat, Real Estate Real Talk with Dena and Chris. I'm Dena Mathis.
And I'm Chris Breitenbach.
And I'm Sylvia Rombis.
And this is Sylvia Rombis. And we're coming to you today from ADC Fine Art East.
And our topic of the day today is how to choose art for your home that inspires you and brings you joy.
And we are coming to you from this beautiful and inspiring gallery today, of course, most fitting. And we're here with Sylvia Rombis, who's the creative consultant and also partner at ADC Fine Art. So we welcome Sylvia to the program. Thanks for joining us today.
You know what, it's totally a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited about this particular podcast and kind of imparting a little bit of information about what it is that I do and, the world of fine art a little bit.
Absolutely. So that's where we'll start. Just tell us a little bit about who you are in the art world.
So I actually came to the art world from a different angle. I'm a product designer by trade, and I was in the fashion industry for many years, designing footwear and accessories for major corporations. But my job was to create product that would sell hundreds of millions of units. But the joy that I found within the product that I designed was not the selling of the hundreds of millions of units, was in creating the original one. So I've always had this predisposition for the fine and the one. So it was a natural progression for me to migrate into art, which every single piece that you see in here, and out of the hundreds and hundreds of artists that we represent and thousands of pieces, it's just the one. They're all unique and individual pieces. So I think that's for me, coming to that was really kind of coming to my dream and my destiny of representing artists in the one and only unique piece.
Love that. Just love that, because I find art to be very, very personal. And not everybody thinks that. So I'm just going to start off with the question that I think you would be asked, because this would be something that we would be asked, is how do you select a piece of art for your home? Do you select it for the home? Do you select it simply because you love it? Where do you even begin?
So we start with B. You select what you love. So
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
There's a lot to love
and
here.
It's like your home. You select a home that feels like home. You select a piece of artwork that'll feel like it's home in your home. It's at home in your home. So it's really, really important to love a piece, because when you love a piece, you will not only enjoy it at that point in time in that particular space, but if you are like me, I move my things around in my home all the time. I move it here and I move it there and move that chair just slightly. And I do the same thing for my clients, by the way. I don't just sell art. I rearrange their entire home.
Oh my gosh.
I shift furniture.
That's so me.
It's the nature of the creative spirit. See,
yeah.
It's totally, definitely to my benefit to make sure that the artwork is shown in its best light. So always choose a piece that you love. And that piece that you love will be beautiful in your current home for as long as you're there. But then if you love it, you'll find a home in another home if you elect to move. I've had clients that I have actually moved 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times over 2 decades. And I've moved them from, large houses to small houses and every time I always find a place for their art, because they love that art, and we'll rearrange it and they love it and it looks great in a whole different way. I have a great example of a client that we moved from a 15,000 square foot house to a 6,200 square foot house to a 500 square foot house to a 2,400 square foot house. And all of that
That's
art.
a lot of moving.
And a lot of adjustments.
So we'll handle the move part. We'll handle the list part.
Yeah.
And my call Sylvia to handle the art part.
That all of their art, which is a lot of art, if you can imagine, from a 15,000 square foot
Yeah.
house,
Oh my goodness.
found a home in this 2,400.
It's gotta-
And not only that, but they absolutely love it. And not only that, they actually bought more artwork. So it's
To
really
fit the new space.
Yeah.
it's truly a very beautiful, beautiful thing. And there are tricks that you can do when you get to be a seasoned collector. you know, and you collect a certain category, for instance, glass. These clients had glass, beautiful glass from the major glass blowers all over the world, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth. But we wound up in their new place doing beautiful glass surround around their fireplace, and created niches in these glass shelves with lights specific to each and every piece, because they're very important.
Sounds amazing.
So you take all these pieces that were around all of their homes and you put them together, and all of a sudden this glass exhibit becomes exquisite, and they see it in its entirety, and they can see the connection between the pieces because they love them. You know, although they're all different, they loved them and they all found their home. So I think that, you know, always buy what you love.
Love that.
Always buy.
Well, that bodes well for the Breitenbach house, where Dena's been to our house, and I sometimes like things that are a little quirky, and so
the animal pictures.
The animal pictures. You know, if I walk past a goat, I'm gonna probably buy the goat. So
yeah,
that's my spirit animal, by the way.
Is it really?
Yes.
You're the goat girl.
See, I must have known. Must have known. So, you know, I know we buy art that we love when we're decorating our house, right? And we move that with us. Some of our clients, and just like the people you were just talking about, some of our clients may not have the long-term plans to stay where they're at. And so if somebody's now making a transition and they're thinking that we are going to put our house on the market soon, do you have any strategies to share to help them maybe move their art, or considerations they should have that might be appealing to a consumer versus themselves?
Well, if at all possible, if they can procure the services of a professional, it's totally worth it, because when I come in, and I am commissioned to do this all the time, to come in and recurate a collection, to redo it. People redecorate, or they read this, or they move, and I find places for it. But there's something very special about a fresh eye.
Yeah.
And you know this when you go, and especially when you're staging or something like that, you go in with a fresh eye, and the client, the person that lives there and sees it day in and day out, may not necessarily see it the same way.
Exactly.
And we can see it. We can see how everything will go together. We can take something from this room and put it in that room. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing that on Tuesday. Young clients, they have a very diverse collection of sentimental and some fine art, but they want to keep it all. So we're going to reframe some of it. We're going to reimagine it. We're going to put it in their new home, and we're going to make it work for them. So that'll be a part of their progression. And as they get more and newer pieces in, then, you know, we kind of reimagine those spaces too. But it's totally worth it to get a professional just to take a look. It'll be money well spent, and certainly it'll be frustration.
So that's a lot of what you do here at the gallery then.
I do it all. We are totally full service. We're art consultants, we're art dealers, we're gallerists, and we're curators as well.
Okay.
So, and then of course, you know, we have the auxiliary services like framing, where we're able to take, you know, pieces that you may already have that just need a little bit of love to bring them back. And it makes them, not make them work, but help them to find their place.
We just had this conversation, didn't we? Just kind of on a one-off, and it was really about taking a piece that doesn't work because you've maybe painted your home in different colors. You love the piece, but maybe reframing it gives it a whole fresh new perspective.
It does, and believe it, and they say you should never match your pillows, but if
you should never
match your pillows to your art, but every once in a while you get a great piece of artwork and you're like, oh, those colors are not prevalent. Put a pillow on it, you know, on your couch, whatever. Pull those colors in, and it really works. And it is just little fun things like this. And, you know, there's a real thrill in taking something that you've loved for a long time and making it work in your current life. It's a comforting thing to kind of bring things in, you know, instead of just starting fresh. Most of us have things, and we want to keep some of those things.
So just repurposing can give it a whole fresh new perspective, whether you're repurposing it in your existing home or taking it to your new home.
Exactly. Repurposing and also regrouping. That's critical because you can take if someone has a love
Some
for
good ideas there.
Yes.
Regrouping also.
Repurpose,
Regroup. Yes.
That's exactly right. So if someone has a collection of family photos and they've got them scattered all over the place, and it just becomes convoluted. They've got a child there, grandparent there,
Do
whatever.
you know that's my house? So you
I come in and I like pull it all together. We can do a hall of fame.
and then it becomes a collection.
It becomes
right?
a collection. And not only that, but you can
That's so
see
exciting.
the progression of the family from young
Yes.
children
Wow.
to teenagers
Wow.
to, that and your grandparents, the deceased, and you can see from whence you came. And it becomes a beautiful art piece in and of itself, even though it's not, a fine art piece, it's your family legacy.
Right.
And so those kinds of things all fall into place because we live within the context of others, our families,
Exactly.
our loved ones, our friends, and we want to be surrounded by those kinds of things too.
I love that.
I do too. Okay, I'm backing up to the framing again because I when I've been married for over 30 years, we have some pieces
I
that
hear you.
we bought when and
30 years ago.
teal green and pink was very popular, and so we actually have like a print that's framed in that. So moving forward, as we do some repurposing and some reframing, should we do it to match the piece or should we do it to match our decor?
So first of all, you always want to highlight the piece, okay? Because you can't just stick something in a frame just because the color of the frame matches the woodwork that you have, or the room, or the
pillows
vibe.
on my couch.
Pillows on the
Pillows on
couch,
your couch.
right?
So you should always, because I've taken artwork that I thought was absolutely hopeless. It's like, please, I need some. And you put a beautiful frame on it and that works with the piece. And all of a sudden it's beautiful. It's
a whole new life, huh?
balanced. It's, got the right amount of negative space. It's got all the things that make it a good and quality piece. And then you see it anew. But I've also seen extraordinary, beautiful pieces of artwork totally ruined by the wrong frame.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
all
So
you see
So
is
there's a
either-
wrong way too.
There's a wrong way. It overwhelms it, or too much detail, or the proportions. You have to pay attention from a design standpoint to the proportions and the way things are. And it just, like a line drawn around a really exquisite piece is still a line drawn around a really exquisite piece. So it really, you should always start with the piece and see what it wants. And of course, there's so many varieties of frames that are available these days. Certainly you can find something that fits the vibe of your home, but also enhances the appeal of the piece.
That's great advice.
I love that. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about specifically, I know you touched on this, really what your services are, maybe what those mean a little bit more in detail.
So I worked with my clients in a variety of different capacities. A lot of times I come in and the clients want to start fresh. For instance, maybe they're moving and they're moving to Florida, or they're moving someplace and they really want to start fresh. I kind of really love those clients because I always advise them to start with a great piece of artwork first. And that sets the tone for everything. If you can find a piece of artwork that expresses your vibe, when you choose a piece of artwork, we already discussed that you're supposed to love it. So when you find something that you love and it says something about, then there's so many ways that you can build your home. You're going to need a couch and chairs and table and all that, but you can build it around this beautiful piece of artwork that is meaningful to you, that talks about something in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be a specific dialogue. It could be a color. It could be a composition. It could be the way it catches a light. I have a client in Michigan. She's actually lives here in Hyde Park, but she is in Michigan. She bought a beautiful, huge abstract that I delivered up there because her home was on Lake Michigan, and the piece looked like Lake Michigan. The blues and the grays and the those colors, although it wasn't literal Lake Michigan, with the horizon and all that, but it was these beautiful colors, and she's absolutely right. Aura. And they still love this piece well over a decade, 2 decades later. So we can start with a piece. The other way that I can work with my clients is they can, to help them add. So I've been, my clients luckily are very loyal to me, and I'm very loyal to them. So as new work comes in, and we get hundreds of pieces, thousands of new pieces in every year, if we'll hold out for the right piece. We're not in a hurry. There are no art emergencies. So
art emergencies.
But
like
I can't remember. No, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. But I remember every single piece of artwork I've installed in every single home with every single paint color, the furniture. I remember it like it was yesterday, but I can't remember what I had for breakfast. So it's a very
personal experience.
Very personal experience. But I'll call them up and I'll say, Susie, I just got this piece in, and I know that it would be a great addition to what you've got going on.
Oh, wow. So you're the eyes and ears.
Absolutely. It happens all the time. I mean, I would say
you know what their needs are. You know what they love. You know what pieces.
And that's the beautiful thing about developing a relationship with somebody that you trust, where your tastes not necessarily align 100%. I've put incredible art in very traditional homes that is very abstract, and I've put very traditional art in very contemporary homes. So it just depends on that balance and that vibe, and knowing your clients and knowing what they like. But find somebody that you trust. It may be a designer, and it may be an art consultant. But if it's specific to an artful need, find somebody that you like. Go to different galleries. See how you interact with them. Listen to what they have to say. Are they saying things that resonate with you? Are they showing you things based on what they hear you saying, and then offering and layering other things? I always, whenever I take something out on approval, and that's the way that we work, you come in, you take a look, we can bring if you're local, and even if you're not, we'll ship the art on approval, but we take the artwork out. But I always not only take the artwork that we've discussed in here, but I also take one that's a little bit more pushing the envelope, one that's kind of bringing it back and making it either a little bit more traditional or a little bit more abstract, or whatever the scenario may be. And then I can't tell you how many times I've sold the brackets.
You sit back and watch them and how they interact with the pieces.
Because a lot of time, most people are very good at verbalizing, but also too, you want to give them the opportunity to see something on the other side of the bookend. So, we as I said, we work on that capacity. We do bring artwork out on approval, and then we create a relationship. A lot of times, almost 100% of the time, because art brings us together, my clients become friends.
Right. Art brings us together. And here we are on the red sofa.
So here we are on the red sofa.
Kind of like the red carpet.
We're on the comfy couch.
We love it. We love everything that you've had to say, and you are just a wealth of information here at ADC Fine Art East. We invite you all to come down to the gallery here in O'Brienville at 2124 Madison Road, and Sylvia will hook you up.
Yeah, I do want to say that we also have a beautiful location. We have two locations. We are a mega gallery.
Yes.
So we have two beautiful locations. This one is 5,000 square feet, and it's set up more like a traditional art gallery. The other one is it's a consultancy. It's where our corporate headquarters are. It's where the staff is, and there's a lot of art coming and going there. And I just finished curating in over 300 pieces in that show at ADC West at 1013 York Street here in Cincinnati. So I encourage everybody to just see the world of art. We've got more art than anybody in town. So you'll find what you love, for sure.
It's phenomenal, yes. Both this location and space, which lends itself more to the walk-in retail client, but going to your other location is just a whole different experience.
Experience is the word for it.
Yeah, it's an experience.
It's an experience, and you'll definitely see a lot of art That's for sure. So
we want to thank you
Oh my
for
gosh,
joining
Yes,
us.
thank you.
So much
This has
fun.
been
Yes.
amazing.
you know, I love to talk art.
And we will invite
And-
you back to our, now that you'll be a friend to our program, right?
Absolutely,
On the
absolutely.
red sofa.
On the red sofa, the big
All
red
right.
couch. All right.
Thank
you.
All right.
And now we're on to the second part of our piece, the real estate real talk, where we are looking at the area market stats. So Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you saw this morning in the multiple listing service?
Excellent. So this morning, there was a lot of interesting information. In the past 24 hours from when I looked this morning, we had 86 new listings and 90 that went under contract. So pretty balanced there. But I do find it interesting that there were 17 price reductions today, but yesterday there were 31 price reductions that were taken on homes that are currently on the market. And then today there were also 20 homes that were under contract that for some reason are not going to close, and those homes are back on the market.
Okay, so we had 20 of those homes go back on the market.
Correct. So my point being with the price reductions and the back on the markets is that it is a hot market, but not everything is selling.
Yeah.
And not everything is closing.
Absolutely. So it still comes down to that price, the condition, and the location being a factor, even in this market where things are selling like hotcakes, or so they seem. Those factors are still really critical and things that you should take into consideration.
And we're very concerned about the homes that are coming back on the market. And they do so for a couple of reasons, right?
Right.
One is inspections. People get to the inspection, there is something with the home that they no longer want to purchase it.
Right. So looking at the condition, of course, the condition of the home didn't necessarily match up what the buyer felt the home was worth. They can't negotiate an outcome, and it goes back on the market.
Yes. Yeah. Another big one I'm seeing are appraisals. Homes, we hear they're getting their multiple offers. Homes are selling 10,000 over list price. But then the reality is a bank doesn't want to lend money on it.
Exactly. That's a great point, because your lender is going to hire an independent appraisal, and the bank wants to make sure that the value is there, right? They want to make sure that that it's worth what you're paying for it. And if that appraisal falls short, that means some things that need to be renegotiated for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, in this market that we're in, there are buyers who are just making rash decisions. And so they're doing whatever they can to get under contract and then realize that this may not necessarily be the house for them.
That's one that I love. But oftentimes you'll see that happen right away, fortunately and unfortunately, and you've got to really prepare for that also, because you are making that selection as a seller as to which contract to choose. And if that falls through, then you've got to have a backup plan.
So we've been kind of suggesting that while we want to get that super high price for our homes, it sometimes causes issues along the way too, whether it be perception from the buyer's perspective or the bank's perspective too. So today we thought we would talk a little bit about the contracts and how the contracts are more than just price.
Exactly. So everybody wants the highest and best price, right? And that's good and well and great. But if your home is on the market for $400,000 and somebody offers $500,000, yay, yippee. But going back to that whole piece on appraisals, that's a huge component that's going to cause you some problems.
So you may want to consider one of the things we might suggest if we're representing you as a seller is ensuring that that buyer has the ability to purchase the home, whether the home appraises or not. And so that might mean coming up with extra down payment money, perhaps the amount that they're borrowing, that appraisal isn't as necessary for the lender.
Exactly. So if that buyer is willing to, in some cases, waive an appraisal, or really looking at the financing piece of the contract, I think is where it's critical for the agent really to communicate all the terms of the contract to their clients. Looking at that financing piece, looking at how much they're putting down, and if they have the ability and the equity to waive an appraisal should it come back short.
Yeah, great suggestion. Other parts to the contract that may have an effect, especially under financing, what's their down payment, right? If somebody's putting down a 3.5% down payment versus somebody putting down 50%, you know, as a seller, what's the security of that offer? And so certainly somebody who's putting more down, that's going to be a more secure offer and will have less of a risk. You would think it would have less of a risk of that buyer not qualifying for their loan.
Well, there are certain things that you can try to safeguard from, and that's one of those things that you can look at and try to check that box to make sure that if you go down this road, that you're secure, that this person has the ability to move forward, like we said.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, earnest money, I know earnest money sometimes is neither here nor there, but it is money that a buyer puts down that says, hey, I really want to buy this house.
It's the skin in the game.
It is. It is. And so as a seller, one of the strategies could be that we require that buyer to put a substantial amount of earnest money down when they're writing that contract, because if they have more skin in the game, they might be less willing to walk away.
Right. They might be less willing to walk away. And when you start, you know, when you're in a contract negotiation and all of a sudden your side as the seller side asks for an upgrade in the earnest money, just having them back away from that sometimes is telltale. It tells you that maybe they aren't as committed to the purchase as you may have thought. So that's another consideration to look at.
You know, and some of the things that people may or may not consider is that there are other expenses within a contract. For example, is your buyer asking for title insurance and for the seller to pay for the title insurance? A home warranty.
A warranty is another one of those things. And then sometimes there are just personal aspects that they ask for as well. So really looking at the contract in its totality and weighing all of the options, not just looking at that price, is a really critical component, I think, to making the decision about which contract to accept.
And I know last week we talked a little bit about closing and occupancy. And as part, you know, that's a huge part of the contract is, does this offer reflect your needs for moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris, because if you are building a new home and you need another 90 days, then maybe it's worth it to you to buy more time rather than looking at it in terms of a price strategy. So definitely, again, comes down to your needs specific to you know, what is best for you. And these are all things to discuss with your trusted realtor advisor, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And we would be happy to schedule time with you to go through your personal situation or go through all of these strategies in further detail. Remember, it's Dena and Chris Real Talk at gmail.com.
Thanks for joining us today. Next week, we will be actually coming to you from your living room.
Our studio.
Our studio at your house, where we'll be talking about how to make upgrades to your home really that are conducive to getting the biggest bang for your buck while you're living there, or potentially things that will add value to your home as you sell.
Yes. Is it time to live in your home or time to leave your home?
Leave your home, exactly. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.